Today I will be talking regarding tongue under the following headings: introduction, parts of the tongue, papillae of the tongue, development, only the overview because the detailed development already covered during your embryology lecture, muscles of the tongue, blood supply and its drainage, lymphatic drainage, nerve innervation and its clinical anatomy. Introduction. Tongue is a muscular organ partly in oral cavity and partly in pharynx, and associated with taste, speech, chewing, deglutition and cleaning of mouth. Let's see the parts of the tongue. Parts of the tongue. And first we see in the parts of the tongue is tip. See, parts of the tongue, tip is here. You can see tip is here. Next part is the base of the tongue. See, this is the base of the tongue. Here is the base of the tongue, which is a posterior 1/3, and it's directed toward the oropharynx. Then inferior surface of the tongue. See, this is the inferior surface of the tongue. This is the inferior surface of the tongue. Then this is the lateral margin. You can see this is the lateral margin here. This is the lateral margin of one side and this is the lateral margin of the other side. Then root of the tongue. This is the root of the tongue here, and this root of the tongue is present at the floor of the tongue. So this root is formed by the lower fiber. Is formed by the lower fiber of genioglossus muscle. So let's see the parts again. This is the tip. This is the inferior surface. Here this is the base. This is the base which is directed to this oropharynx, and this is the lateral surface, left lateral and right lateral. Clear? So tip, base, inferior surface, lateral margin, root. Now we will see each part in detail. So first, this one is the apex of the tongue or tip of the tongue. This tip is directed forward and comes in contact with the upper incisor. In a normal position, it rests, or you can say it touches the hard palate, anterior aspect of the hard palate. Now next is the base. See, here is the base. So this base, as I said, is directed toward the oropharynx. Clear? And this base is connected to the, here we can see this is the epiglottis. This is the epiglottis. So this base here connected to epiglottis by, you can see here, this median glossoepiglottic fold, this median glossoepiglottic fold, and on the either side this is connected by lateral glossoepiglottic fold, this lateral glossoepiglottic fold. Clear? And on the side of this median epiglottic fold we see this is epiglottic vallicula, both sides, this epiglottic vallicula. Now we will see and try to understand the two surfaces of the tongue. This surface is the dorsal surface of the tongue, or you can say superior surface. So this one is the dorsal surface of the tongue, and the surface which is below to this is the inferior surface. First we will talk about the dorsal surface. So this dorsal surface is, you can see, this is moist, this is pink in color and moist, and it is covered by mucous membrane and lined by non-keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium. So this dorsal surface is divided into two parts. Here we can see this one, this, which I am drawing in the red color. This is sulcus terminalis, or you can say this is a terminal sulcus of the tongue, which is dividing this convex dorsal surface into two parts. This part which is posterior and the part which is anterior. So the posterior 1/3 and anterior 2/3. This sulcus limitans, this terminal sulcus, see this terminal sulcus on its median part here, on its most posterior aspect. So in its most posterior and median aspect here, where I am indicating, from here the thyroglossal duct appear. Clear? And this already I have explained you during your embryology class. Clear? So anterior 2/3 part, this all anterior 2/3 part of the dorsal surface is known as presulcal oral part, and this posterior 1/3. Now we will see here this presulcal part have many papillae. So what are the papillas present in the tongue? The papillas are foliate papilla, velate papilla, then here fungiform papilla, this, and here all is the filiform papilla. Here we can see all these papillas very well arranged. So now we will talk about each papillas one by one. So here we see this velate papilla, also known as circumvallate papilla. Why it is known as circumvallate papillas? Because we can see it is in circular in shape. See, that's why known as circumvallate papilla. So this, it has a broad base here. Before this we can see the arrangement. Here we can understand very well this papillae, the different papillae. First, circumvallate papillae. So this, here we can see the circumvallate papillae. They are very well arranged in a V-shaped pattern, and they are present in anterior, or you can say front of this sulcus terminalis, about 10 to 12 in number. They are about 10 to 12 in numbers, and they have a broad base. And here we can see another projection. So they have a taste bud. So these taste bud are present in this circumvallate papillae. So next papillae is this fungiform papillae. Okay, so they are rounded. You can see they are rounded. They are rounded and reddish in elevation. They are slightly elevated. They are present on the side of this tongue. They are present on the side of the tongue. This side of the tongue and the tip of the tongue. So here, and they also have taste bud. Next papillae is filiform. Here we can see this is the next papillae is the foliate one. Where is the foliate? This you can see this one is the foliate papillae. So actually here we can see these vertical lines. These vertical lines are present both sides. On both sides, these vertical lines are present on the margin of the tongue on the posterior aspect here. Clear? So these vertical lines, they are present anterior to this sulcus terminalis. So the sulcus terminalis is here, so they are present anterior to the sulcus terminalis on the margin of the tongue, and these they also have taste bud. Whereas here you can see many tiny small tiny, can say reddish color, small. They are all many tiny papillae are present in the anterior two-third of the tongue. Clear? And they are arranged in a V-shaped pattern. All this arrangement except in the anterior aspect here. In this anterior aspect, they are arranged transversely. And this papillae, this filiform papillae, they do not have taste bud. So this is important for your examination for MCQ, which papillae do not have taste bud. So filiform papillae do not have taste bud. Clear? Now here we will see this is the taste bud. Actually this is the taste bud, and you can see this taste bud, this is spherical in shape. And in the region in the core region, in the center region, they have what this? These are the spindle shaped cells. These spindle shaped cells are gustatory. They are gustatory cells. Gustatory sensory cell. Gustatory sensory cell. And on the side they are supported by the cell, they are known as basal cells. And this here is an opening. This opening is the gustatory pore or taste pore. Here. So this taste bud, they are modified epithelial cells. What these taste buds are? They are modified epithelial cells. Modified epithelial cells. And finally they get connected here by the afferent nerve. Here we can see the arrangement of taste bud in the different location of the tongue for the different taste. So this taste bud in the tip of the tongue for sweet and salty, for the taste of sweet and salty food, and on the side is for the sour, and on the pharyngeal part of the tongue is for bitter. Whereas here in the dorsum of the tongue, this unique taste is umami. this umami. Clear? So here at this region, at this umami is another taste. So this taste is another kind of taste which is known as savory. So this contains the taste of all the said taste, that's sweet, salt, sour, bitter. With this it has a taste of savory. The savory kind of taste is the taste what we get from the cooked meat. This cooked meat, tomato, this tomato, and the soup. When we take the taste that we get from this region, from the dorsum of the tongue. Clear? So it has a taste of all the said, that sour, sweet, salt, sour, bitter, as well as the taste of meat, tomato, or taste of a soup. The next we talk about the inferior surface of the tongue. So this here what we see, this is the inferior surface of the tongue, and this is covered by the mucous membrane. You can see this inferior surface is covered by the mucous membrane, and this inferior surface, it has got a fold here. This fold is known as frenulum of the tongue, and this attaches the surface inferior of the surface of the tongue with the floor of the mouth. On the side of this frenulum of the tongue is sublingual. You can see this is a papilla. This is sublingual papillae. You can see this is sublingual papilla, and here we see the opening of this submandibular gland, the opening of submandibular gland through submandibular duct. So submandibular gland open here through the submandibular duct. Clear? So this is about this frenulum of the tongue. This another fold is this fold which is running this way upward medially is the fimbriate. This is the fimbriate fold. So in between this fimbriate fold and the frenulum of the tongue, we see this is little bit dark colored structure. This is deep lingual vein and also known as profunda linguae vein. This is the lateral margin of the tongue. This is the lateral margin of the tongue. Here, this lateral margin of the tongue at the junction of anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3, at this junction, the palatoglossal arch attaches. Let's review this image again before I go into the development. So this, what I said, this is the point from where the thyroglossal duct appear. So this is the point, is foramen of cecum of tongue. Clear? So this is the point of foramen cecum of the tongue. Clear? Now let's see the development. Detail of the development already we have covered during the embryology lectures. Development of the pharyngeal arches. So let's see again. So see here, as we have seen during the embryology, two swelling which appear and another one swelling is this. So these two swelling, two big swellings, lingual swelling and one small swelling in the midline. So this swelling appear by the first arch. Okay, first arch. Clear? These two big swellings are lingual swelling, and in the midline this small swelling is tubercular impar. Here on the posterior aspect of this tubercular impar is the point of foramen of cecum. From here this thyroglossal duct appear, which later on develop into the thyroid gland. They together form anterior two-third of the tongue. Clear? Another swelling which appear in the midline is the hypobranchial eminence, and this developed by second, third and fourth arch. Second, third and fourth arch. So here this second, third and fourth arch of this hypobranchial eminence, the part which is this one is the cranial part, and the part this one which I have double ticked is the caudal part. Clear? This cranial part is by second and third arch, whereas this caudal part is by this fourth arch. Clear? So the post developed by this, and the posterior most part of the tongue. So this is the posterior most part of the tongue is developed by the fourth arch. So as the development is proceeding ahead, see, this is the first arch, and the third arch overshoot and cover the second arch. So the second arch get buried. So it get buried, and third arch overshoot it, and here is the fourth arch which is making the posterior most part of the tongue. So the parts of the tongue, this is the embryonic part derived, which has been derived, and this is the nerve supply. Clear? So anterior two-third by the first arch, the epithelium over the posterior one-third by the third arch, and epithelium over the posterior most is by the fourth arch. This one, what I said. And the muscle is derived from occipital myotomes. Clear? Nerve supply or nerve innervation. So first arch is by mandibular branch, talking regarding the general sensation. Third arch for by this glossopharyngeal. Fourth arch gives superior laryngeal branch of the vagus. And for the taste, this facial one, a branch of this facial, chorda tympani, and epithelium over the posterior one-third is by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the posterior most is by the superior laryngeal branch of the vagus. Clear? And the muscles which are developed from these occipital myotomes, they are innervated by the hypoglossal. Muscles of the tongue. So we study the muscles of the tongue in extrinsic muscles of the tongue and intrinsic muscles of the tongue. This image I have already shown you and discussed with you during the lecture of submandibular region. So you are aware of the extrinsic muscles of the tongue. But in a detail I have discussed all these muscles, genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus, during the lecture of submandibular region. But anyway, see some else. So extrinsic muscles, here we see genioglossus, see genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus, chondroglossus and palatoglossus. Let's try to understand the chondroglossus. Before this, as you already aware about this hyoglossus, so hyoglossus arises from here, from this body of this hyoid bone and greater cornu of the hyoid bone and inserted at the side of the tongue. Clear? So this chondroglossus, actually this arises from this hyoglossus only. What happened? This hyoglossus, the fiber of the hyoglossus, some fiber, they arises from here and from the lesser cornu. Okay, from the lesser cornu, and this muscle fiber, this is genioglossus. It is running in this manner. Okay, they are running in this manner, and the lower fiber of this genioglossus will insert over the hyoid bone that you already know. So this genioglossus, what it will do, it will split this hyoglossus. So it will split this hyoglossus and lead to make another muscle. This muscle is chondroglossus, and it will go and attach on this side of the tongue. Clear? And its action is to depress the side of the tongue, because it is originating from this lesser cornu and attaching on the side of the tongue. So the action will be toward this one, toward this direction. As a result of this, it will depress the side of the tongue. Clear? This palatoglossus, let's see the palatoglossus. Let me take the pointer. See, this is the palatoglossus. The fibers of this palatoglossus arises from here, from this point, palatine aponeurosis. This point, palatine aponeurosis, and you can see the fibers of this palatoglossus move downward, then forward, and attaches on the side of the tongue. Here, the side of the tongue, in front of sulcus terminalis. Clear? Here in the front of sulcus terminalis, on the side of the tongue. So this is the direction of the fibers. The action of this is to see, this is the point of origin and this is the point of insertion. So what it will do, the force will act toward this direction. So it will elevate the tongue. What it will do, it will elevate the base of the tongue. Clear? So all the muscles, all these extrinsic muscles are innervated by, you can see here, just take me pointer. So all are innervated by 12th cranial nerve except palatoglossus. So palatoglossus is innervated by 11th cranial nerve. 11th cranial nerve. Now we will see the intrinsic muscle. So there are 4 pair of intrinsic muscles. So intrinsic muscle, first we see this superior longitudinal muscle. Here we see this superior longitudinal muscle, and next is inferior longitudinal muscle. Here we see this inferior longitudinal muscle. Then this one is transverse or transversus linguae muscle, and last is this vertical linguae muscle. So all these intrinsic muscle, they are present on this either side of this septum. This septum is known as fibrous septum. So they are known as median fibrous septum. So both side, either side means total 4 pairs of intrinsic muscle. So first we will talk about the superior longitudinal muscle. The superior longitudinal muscle. See, this is the dorsum of the tongue. We see this is the dorsum of the tongue. They are present here. So they are present beneath the mucous membrane. So this is the dorsum and here is the mucus. So they are present beneath the mucous membrane, and they are arise from this septum. So this is the septum, fibrous septum. From here these muscle arise, and they arise from here on its posterior aspect. So this is the posterior aspect. So the septum is running is from here to here and it extend like this way. So this is the posterior aspect. So this is the posterior aspect of the septum. This is the posterior aspect of the septum, and they arises from this posterior aspect. And we can see the superior longitudinal muscle, they move in this direction. They are moving in this direction, and so these muscles, they move in this direction, and then they move in this direction, in the forward direction. So first they move laterally, this way laterally, then move forward direction, and they get attached on the lateral side, means on the side of the tongue. So they are inserted on the side of the tongue. So its action is, the action of this is to reduce the length of tongue, and to make the side of tongue concave. Clear? This inferior longitudinal, we will see this inferior longitudinal. They are also present beneath this mucous membrane, and we can see they are present deep to this hyoglossus. So we can see this is the hyoglossus muscle. This is one is hyoglossus muscle. So they are present deep to the hyoglossus. Okay, and the direction is in this way. So they run in this direction, in the forward direction, and this is the septum. This is the median fibrous septum, which is the posterior aspect, and they converge anteriorly. They can move forward and converge, and they insert over to this septum. So this is on the anterior aspect of this septum. Clear? Because you can see the direction, they are moving in a forward direction and they get converged. Its action is, first action is to reduce the length of tongue. Second is, what it do, it make the dorsum convex. Clear? Next is this transversus linguae. This transversus linguae, they originate from this septum, and they run in this direction laterally. They run laterally and get inserted on the side of this side of the tongue. Clear? They inserted it in this way on the side of the tongue, and they run. We can see here this is the hyoglossus. This is the hyoglossus, and this one is the genioglossus. Clear? This one is the genioglossus, and we can see this genioglossus fibers, all this genioglossus. So they run through the genioglossus. They run through the genioglossus and inserted on the side of the tongue. The action, its action is to reduce the width of the tongue. They reduce width of tongue. Clear? Now the fourth one is verticalis linguae. This verticalis linguae, here we can see the fibers of this. These are here, just this one, these are all the fibers of the verticalis linguae, and we can see how they are running. They are running this way. So they are running this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. This I am making the dotted line of this. This is verticalis linguae. Clear? So the fiber of this, they originate from the lamina propria. Say they originate from the lamina propria of the dorsum of tongue, and we can see, as we have seen, as their fibers are, they are moving downward, and this one is the genioglossus. So the fibers, they run downward through the genioglossus like this way, and they are curving, they are moving, curving laterally like this. Genioglossus, they are curving laterally, and they curve laterally to insert on this side of the tongue. So originate from this lamina propria and insert. Where they insert? They insert on the side of tongue. So we have seen all these four intrinsic muscle, and finally one conclusion we can make: all these intrinsic muscles are inserting on the side of the tongue except one. What is that? This is this inferior longitudinal. Clear? So inferior longitudinal fibers, they converge in this direction in the forward and get inserted to this one, this septum, anterior part of the septum here. Clear? What is the action? What is the action of this verticalis linguae? So the action of this verticalis linguae is to increase the width. Clear? That's why I'm putting a plus sign. So they increase the width of the tongue and make the dorsal surface concave from side to side. This side to side. Clear? Arterial supply of tongue. So here we see this is the common carotid. This is common carotid artery, and diverge here. This is a external carotid, and this one is the internal carotid. So we can see here some vessels are draining here to this jugulodigastric nodes, and in jugulo-omohyoid node you can see this one as well as this one to this jugulo-omohyoid. Clear? This jugulo-omohyoid nodes, and few of the vessels, they drain into submandibular. You can see submandibular node. Clear? Now this dorsal set here, the dorsal set of lymphatic drainage, we see this, they drain this, the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. This is drained by this dorsal set, and they, most of them, they drain to this jugulodigastric, this jugulo-digastric node. Only single vessel. This is the one of the single vessel of this dorsal set. This is the single one. They come and drain into jugulo-omohyoid. They drain into jugulo-omohyoid node. Clear? Understanding of the lymphatic drainage is clinically very important, because here we can see this apical one. We have seen this apical set is draining to most of the lymph node. Clear? So this apical one is draining to the most of the lymph node. What they are? First, they are draining into submental. They are draining in submandibular. They are also draining in jugulo-omohyoid lymph node. They are also draining in submandibular node. So in the multiple nodes, this apical set is draining. So the carcinoma, the cancer of at the region of the tip of the tongue, can spread profusely to all sides of cervical lymph node. Nerve innervation to tongue is motor nerve and sensory nerve. So in this motor one is somatomotor. Somatomotor responsible for the positioning and the movement of the tongue. Then secretomotor, responsible for secretion of the saliva, secretion of the serous secretion, all the secretions which are in the tongue. So this is the secretomotors, whereas one is the vasomotor, responsible for the extent of blood supply to the tongue. Now sensory nerve, one is general sensory, another is special sensory. So we will talk each feature one by one, and the nerve responsible for the particular action. Now first we talk about the motor one. Clear? So all the muscles of the tongue are innervated by this hypoglossal nerve, except this palatoglossus. So this palatoglossus is innervated by 11th cranial nerve. This is a very important as a frequently asked question as a FAQ or during your Viva. And MCQ. Which nerve supplies to the palatoglossus? Clear? So all the muscles are supplied by a hypoglossal nerve except palatoglossus. Palatoglossus is innervated by 11th cranial nerve. Now we will understand this secretomotor. Actually, already I have explained this secretomotor where in the lecture of this submandibular region, in submandibular lecture of the submandibular region, there I have explained you that the cauda tympani, this cauda tympani, which is a branch of facial, which is a branch of facial nerve. Clear? So this cauda tympani from the superior salivatory nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, the preganglionic fiber, I am writing in short form PG. Preganglionic fibers, they take the nerve conduction and this goes to the submandibular gland. Submandibular gland. So it goes to the submandibular gland via submandibular ganglia. Submandibular ganglion. Through this submandibular ganglion, the postganglionic fiber goes to this submandibular gland. This already I have explained you in submandibular region. This is a secretomotor nerve fibers. Now next is vasomotor. This vasomotor. So this vasomotor already, this also has been explained in the submandibular region only. There I have explained you the sympathetic nerve fiber. This sympathetic nerve fiber, that preganglionic fiber, sympathetic preganglionic fiber coming through the cervical plexus. This here at you can see, let me draw further. Let me see this sympathetic one. Let's try to understand this sympathetic. So the plexus around the facial artery, actually already I have explained you in the submandibular region. So at the facial artery, there it form a plexus. So this plexus is formed at the facial artery. Clear? So which conveys the postganglionic sympathetic fiber from superior cervical ganglion of sympathetic trunk. So, and this fiber passes through ganglion. Which ganglion? The ganglion which I said, this submandibular ganglion, without any relay. Whereas this sensory nerve fiber, here we see anterior 2/3 of this anterior 2/3. This anterior 2/3 is innervated by lingual nerve. This lingual nerve, which is a branch of fifth trigeminal nerve for the general sensory, that is for the pain, temperature, touch. Whereas this cauda tympani, which is a branch of seventh one, is for the spatial sensory. This is a special sensory for taste. Clear? This region is the junction of anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3. So this region is being innervated by the mixed, means these are the overlapping nerves. So here this region can be supplied by the nerve of of anterior 2/3 as well as it can be supplied by the nerve of posterior 1/3. So now we see in the posterior 1/3 is been innervated by glossopharyngeal nerve, that ninth cranial nerve, for both function, for general as well as special senses. Clear? Whereas here in this most posterior part of the posterior 1/3, here this one is innervated by the internal laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve coming from the vagus nerve, 10th cranial nerve. Now we are in the end of the lecture, clinical anatomy. So there are a lot of clinical anatomy in respect of the tongue, but few which are very important that I will discuss with you. A congenital condition, this is a congenital anomaly, aglossia. So aglossia or another congenital anomaly, this is tongue tie is also congenital anomalies. These are all the congenital anomalies. So this aglossia and other is hemiglossia. Clear? So in the what happened during the course of the development, as you know the development of the tongue, two lateral swelling, this two lateral swelling which develop, and here one midline swelling. So this lateral swelling, lingual swelling, they develop in a normal course. What happened in case of aglossia? This lingual swelling, they fail to develop. As a result of this, the absence of the tongue happens. So this is a congenital anomaly. And one congenital anomaly is the hemiglossia. So in the aglossia, you can see in this image there is no any tongue, no tongue. In case of hemiglossia, what happened? One side of this lingual cell, only one side of the lingual cell swelling develop, either right side or a left side. So one side, say suppose, fail to develop. They fail to develop. Fail to develop. As a result, only half part of the tongue develops. Clear? This is the hemiglossia. Another congenital anomaly is the tongue tie. See, here you can see this is the frenulum of the tongue. This is the frenulum of the tongue, and this frenulum of the tongue get attached to the anterior aspect of this lower ridge. Clear? As a result, one can't able to take the tongue either in upward direction or backward. So this is the tongue tie. The treatment is just we do a small surgery. We cut this frenulum and do the suturing. Next is the lingual thyroid. See, lingual thyroid. Here you can see in this image, this is, you can see the tonsil. This one is the left tonsil, and here is the right tonsil. This is the uvula, So this is the lingual thyroid. This is an ectopic condition. What is this? This is an ectopic condition. In this, from this foramen cecum, in a normal course, this thyroid, it descend down, but what happened, sometime it failed to descend. So thyroid develop here in this oral cavity. This is the lingual thyroid. Now next condition is thyroglossal cyst. So the point of this foramen cecum, it was, you have seen during the development of the duct, it was descending down, and later in it, here the thyroid comes to its anatomical position. So in the thyroglossal cyst, this thyroglossal duct failed to disappear, and this thyroglossal duct form a fibrous cyst. This is form a fibrous cyst in the region of the neck. So this is a congenital anomaly, and this is removed surgically. Clear? Now this Valdier ring. So this Valdier ring, here we see this region here in this oral cavity. So the Valdier ring consists of the tonsils. Here we see the pharyngeal tonsil, and on this, see here the pharyngeal tonsil, and on this laterally tubal tonsils, two tubal tonsils, and laterally here we see two palatine tonsil, and inferiorly we see lingual tonsil. So these tonsil have lymphocytic cells which help to fight in the infection, and they are arranged in a form of ring. This is known as Valdier's ring. Here we see, this is the carcinoma of the tongue. Here the carcinoma of the tongue is squamous cell carcinoma. So in the squamous cell carcinoma, this carcinoma of the tongue, the part which is malignant, this part is removed. With this, deep cervical lymph nodes are also removed. Then we'll talk about this sorbitrate. We used to give this sorbitrate nitrate sublingually in case of chest pain, and this happened in case of angina pectoris. We used to place this tablet sorbitrate nitrate sublingually below the tongue. It is to be placed below the tongue. Why we place this tablet below the tongue? We place because you have seen in this lecture that the veins of the tongue, the deep and superficial veins, they open in internal jugular vein. Internal jugular vein. So in case of chest pain, angina pectoris, you place the tablet sublingually so that it can absorb in uh, the veins of the tongue and drain drain to internal jugular vein, then to heart. The last is the safety muscle. This safety muscle of the tongue, I've already explained you that genioglossus is known as safety muscle of the tongue. And you have seen that in the lecture of submandibular region, I have explained you the tongue here, this muscle, this genioglossus attaches at here this point of the mandible, which is known as genial tubercle. This is the genial tubercle. So genial tubercle. So this genioglossus here, when we cut the function of this genioglossus is to hold the tongue. It used to hold the tongue, so that tongue it can't fall down in the pharynx. So if we cut this genioglossus, this tongue will fall in pharynx and lead to cause obstruction in breathing, finally lead to cause respiratory arrest. This how we finishes the lecture over the tongue. I hope you understood well. Thank you.